Dorothy had the red hair. Right? Dorothy had the red hair. Let's bring it all full circle. Let's bring it all back to the starting point. Dorothy had the red hair. Okay? How does this connect to the Wendigo, Wendy's? She looked like Wendy. She got the same setup as Wendy. The pigtails and the mom. Right? This is Wendy. Dorothy is Wendy. I think we getting somewhere. Dorothy is Wendy. All right, so I'm going to get back at y'all with another installment. Let me know what you think in the comments. Like and subscribe. I'm out. Then another thing, not only do Dorothy got the red hair, Wendy's got the red hair, they damn near got on the same outfit. Look at this shit. They got on the same outfit. Same hair, same outfit. With the red and white and blue. Look, red and white and blue. It's the same chick, same outfit. Now, if that don't, the hair and the outfit, if that don't do it for you, look at the collar. Both the collars the same. See, she got the blue and white collar. And the logo got the blue and white collar. Right? So, that's a connection right there. What's up, y'all? Back at it. Okay. Let's talk about L. Frank Baum and the Wonderful Wizard of Oz. Right? They say with Christmas almost upon us, I'm always reminded of the iconic film Wizard of Oz, which always seemed to be on TV on Christmas Day in the UK in the 1970s. And after becoming a Freemason, the film took on a slightly more meaningful aspect as its themes of imagery became more apparent, with special reference to the rainbow, enlightenment, journey. Central characters took on the yellow brick road. The story is a beautiful American chorus, blah, blah, blah. Okay. L. Frank Baum called The Wonderful Wizard of Oz, which was first publication in 1900. And though Baum was not a Mason, he was a member of the Theosophical Society, joining in 1982. The Theosophical Society, formed by Helena Blavatsky, which was a cold-blooded satanic occultism. The group promoted the study of occultism and the Kabbalah with their philosophies, okay? They say the themes embedded in The Wizard of Oz certainly reflect some of the philosophies of the Theosophical Society. Okay, let's go back. Okay, say no definitive link. I'm sure there's a but there are several theories suggesting allegories. Right? Spiritual movements like the Theosophy, whatever, which share some overlapping themes with Masonic teaching. These theories posit that the story's journey symbolizes spiritual and personal development, search in the inner truth, and self-discovery. Okay, you got the spiritual allegory. Some interpret the Wizard of Oz as a spiritual allegory for the journey of self-discovery and enlightenment, a path also found in both Theosophy. I don't know why that bothers me. And Freemasonry. The character's quest, scene for enlightenment, going down the yellow brick road, Emerald City. Masonic themed performance. Such group as the Daggers have presented the Wizard of Oz as a Masonic parable that illustrates concept within the craft degrees. Okay, Theosophical links to books. Author L. Frank Baum was influenced by his mother-in-law, who was involved in Theosophy. Baum was an admirer of the Theosophical Society of Chicago. G-O-D, or Gomez Oz de Bar, one interpreter connects G-O-D as the Hebrew phrase Gomar Oz de Bar, which means the inner divine. This further links the story. Okay, L. Baum and the Wonder of the Wizard of Oz. He was a member of the Theosophical Society, the occult roots of the Wizard of Oz. Okay, Masonic tradition, once you realize Oz is a reference to Osiris. Okay, you got the Wizard of Oz as a Masonic parable. Let's see who said that. The Duggards, the Daggards. Yeah. So this is a Masonic website, and they saying they got something to do with them. Okay, bro. Craig Mull's research into the esoteric aspect of Freemasonry has led him to create a number of lectures, various topics. Pinocchio, meaning of ritual, and other subjects. Wizard of Oz Masonic parable has been adapted as a Dagger's presentation. Okay, now here go your man right here, L. Frank Baum, Grand Lodge of British Columbia. So here go another Masonic website. Let's see what they say. Well, they claiming them. They are claiming them. Let's see if we got any images. So here go L. Frank Baum, Masonic Works. Let's see. Wizard of Oz connection. Grand British Lodge of Columbia. Okay, it's pretty obvious, but Masonry and Oz, influence in the Wizard of Oz, a Mason's journey. The daggers keep coming up. But y'all let me know what you think in the comments, man. Like and subscribe. Share the vid. I'm out. Okay, what's up, YouTube? Alright, so we starting with the basics. It say our skin color as people with melanin is green. Melanin is chlorophyll to the human body. When we had our original way of life, our divine connection in nature, and used 100% of our intelligence, we were living and not dying. When magnesium was more plentiful on the planet, our skin was greenish, black hue. Magnesium had been replaced with iron. The human body is made up of 75% water. So what happens to iron when it's immersed in water? It begins to rust. This is why our skin color is brown instead of green. Everything growing through photosynthesis absorbs sunlight and grows green in nature. If you ever notice many babies born with birthmarks of green skin. Okay, then I give you some pigments that I can't explain. We're gonna look at some images right quick. And this could tie into the reptilian, Credo Mutua talked about the African reptilian. This could tie into the mood of mermaids. Mermaids usually green. So it's a lot to unpack here. But this is a little quick one on why I think the lady on Wicked skin is green. You know, remember we had the green lady on Guardians of the Galaxy. Right, you got She-Hulk. Right, you got She-Hulk. You know, another one that came to mind was you know, Mystique was blue, and they talked about the blue skin. But notice Mystique hair color. Right? Notice her hair color. Right? See how all this shit tie in together. Notice the hair color. And then when they had the green children, if you see them, they had red hair. Right? The green children, sometimes, as we see, are depicted with red hair. Right? So, you know, and that is the thing. They associated the green skin with witches. Now they done made the green skin associated with witchcraft, Wicca, right? So I think, you know, we got a little bit of insight. We talked about the elevated cap, the brim, right? The somewhat veiled cap. We talked about the Phrygian cap. So we know that the hat holds some significance. But I think we just kind of pointed out why the green skin is negative and why they made this African chick play the witch. So it say the modern image of witches with green skin originates from the Wizard of Oz. Now, the modern image of witches with green skin originates from the Wizard of Oz, Wicked Witch of the West. Okay, so why they did that, we don't know. They said the green also helped obscure the line between her skin and the black parts of her costume, making separation less noticeable. See, before the film, witches were not consistently portrayed with green skin. In fact, the color green was sometimes associated with evil, but the specific look of green skin witch was largely absent from folklore. We could get into the pointy hat. We'll say that for another video. Why is she green? Let's see what they say. Well, you know, the History Channel notoriously known for not giving the truth. So it ain't no point. Ain't even no point. But yeah, we gonna wrap this one up right here. History Channel ain't gonna give you nothing for real. We're gonna wrap this one up right here. Let me know what you think in the comments. Like and subscribe, share the video. Peace, I'm out. Right, we got the Wizard of Oz, MK Ultra connection, the association of Wizard of Oz and MK Ultra, the subject of conspiracy theories and pop culture analysis. The film and book are interpreted by some theories containing symbolism related to CIA mind control. What did it say? Theory suggests that the Wizard of Oz and sometimes other films like Alice in Wonderland were used as a tool or a guide within MK Ultra programming, specifically in the context of Project Monarch mind control programming. These interpretations generally fall into the following categories: symbolism, triggering, hidden messages. Okay, let's see what else we got. Okay. Got the Wizard of Oz, MK Ultra, Project Monarch. Now there's another thing. Let's see, we get some images before we go. If we can find anything. So the wizard, typically referring to a male practitioner of magic. So I just wanted to show that it's pretty much the same thing. Wizards, witches, sorcerers. They say a male practitioner of magic or witchcraft is commonly called a wizard or sometimes a warlock. Alright, so don't let the wizard bullshit fool you, like, it's not satanic. I'm gonna get on that about that white witch too, right? A wizard is a witch. Okay, witches and wizards. Okay, don't get it twisted. They all at the same table. So you got mind control, you got witchcraft, you got Freemasonry, and don't forget,
Alice in Wonderland is the basis, the prototype of the young child who enters into an initiatory journey through a portal. And this story is identical in its basic premise. And Dorothy would be the American version of Alice, in my opinion. It holds a lot of similarities that are difficult to ignore. Dorothy's journey is a clear allusion to the alchemical quest, to what's called the Great Work. And this occult and esoteric symbology is very blatant in the work. We can see the silver shoes as the quicksilver, the Emerald City as the unripe gold, the golden bricks as the solar path to enlightenment, the tornado, which I would say is the dissolving of Kansas to coagulate Oz. You see a process, a development in the story to reach a particular place.
From the comfort of home and follow the known straight path and have to lose a spirit, than have to lose a spirit. The bond between the soul and the spirit isn't a tame one, as we can see. It is something to be taken care of, to be nurtured, and is something to be held in the heart. This is related to the level of the chakra system, commonly known as the crown chakra, as we can see on the bottom right. The crown is the highest level of consciousness, being that of divinity, oneness, illumination, and a deep spiritual connection with the universe. So it professes both in this world and later, as the wizard, as we shall see, to be acclaimed by the enlightened ones. It then takes a few random general, the vortex, negantropic wave collapse, pine cones kissing, the holy grail.
What?
So the Sumerian handbags are actually, they're known as Me, M-E. Now, the Sumerian concept of Me refers to divine powers or attributes that were believed to be channeled through specific pathways in the body. The idea of channels or pathways through which divine energy flows, the reoccurring theme in many ancient cultures, and remains a significant concept in spiritual practices today. As we can see, obviously, top right, and the Dorothy is then aware of the darkness that haunts her. She can then use that knowledge later as the obstacle that is holding her back. So, as she finds herself in the land of Oz, a yellow orb then appears, which morphs into green and then pink, resulting in the appearance of Glinda, the Witch of the North, character at the top right. She is a North because the North is the balance of the two brain hemispheres and the dualistic nature that we can tap into. It is the center. Now, this was a long shot, so bear with me here. Glinda, so if you imagine, so G equals 6, so the letter, A equals 1, D equals 4. Do you understand? Yeah, so the letters of the number, yeah? So the first 3 letters, the first half, because it's 6, so the first half of our name is 6, 12, and 9. Now, what are all these? These are all multiples of 3. Now this is possibly connected to, obviously, is 14, which represents, again, balance and harmony. D is 4, which represents support and stability, which she gives to Dorothy. And A equals 1, which is you, an attempt to become beautiful. Their ugliness is a representation of their soul. This is why Glinda has jewels on the pineal gland and is objectively beautiful. She glows and has seemingly little physical impurities. She doesn't have a big nose, long nails.
Having a house with no ceiling.
Truth Heresy House of Wisdom.
Aloha everybody, this is Truth Heresy House of Wisdom, and today I'm bringing a video to you about the truth of the shoes or slippers in The Wizard of Oz, being the red ruby slippers that Dorothy wore in The Wizard of Oz film in 1939, and of course the original story of the wonderful Wizard of Oz that was about the character who wore the silver shoes. So originally, the ruby shoes came from the silver shoes. And, you know, one of the reasons that I wrote my book was because all of the information out there as far as movies and stories and reports and decoding of the Wizard of Oz for the past 78 years is actually completely wrong, or just scratching the surface and not really, you know, going to the root foundation of the meanings. So I decided to make my book and write it about, you know, the Wizard of Oz, a foundational base along with just tons of other information. But you know, the Wizard of Oz is a story of time, as I explained in my book, and I made some videos here recently about that. And the pillars of time are the sun and the moon. Thus, the reason that we begin our week with Moon's Day, or Monday, and it ends on Sun's Day, the 7th day of the week, the 2 pillars of time. Thus, the World Trade Center's North Tower and South Tower, which reflects the wisdom of the soul and the man. Thus, the wisdom of King Solomon, the soul and the man, the sun and the moon pillars. So, The Wizard of Oz, A Story of Time, has the character, originally, with the silver slippers that goes along the Gold Road. So, the Gold Road is symbolic of the sun, the journey of the sun through time on the annual year, going through the 12 moons or months of the annual year. So, the silver slippers represent the silver moon, and the sun is the golden brick road, or the yellow brick road. Now, the entire basis of the silver screen, for example, is actually also based upon the moon. And there's other reasons why they'll tell you anyway. They'll tell you that, it's because of the old silver screens in the beginning times of movie making, but the truth goes much deeper than that. Just like the reasoning of the silver and gold that represents the silver and gold of money in the monetary system. Like I said, that's why I wrote my book, because it goes so much deeper than that. You see, the truth is our monetary system is based upon Apollo and Diana, the sun and moon, god and goddess. So it is true that it does reflect the gold and silver of money, but it goes so much deeper in understanding that coins, money, Juno Monita is all based upon the moon and the sun, the gold and the silver of our money system. So many argued back in the day that our money system is not about the sun and the moon and how it reflected the coins that were given and paid, the shillings and all this kind of stuff, which was complete bullshit, and I proved it and debunked that 100%. And that's why, for example, a soldier is a soul dyer. The soul and Daya, the sun that is divided. So soldiers got paid the silver and the gold that represented the sun and the moon, which is why they're fighting in a war, which is Ra, backwards. So the answer to the question as to why Dorothy in The Wizard of Oz wore ruby shoes when originally they were silver shoes that walked upon the yellow brick or golden road is because the silver is the element of the metal of silver. And of course, the gold is always the element of the sun. And of course, you can look this up and do some research and look into alchemy as well. And you will find that's 100% truth. Anyway, guys, if you would like to find out so much more than just these simple concepts, get a hold of my new book, either through the ebook version.
So I just figured out the origins to this, and I'm not shocked by my findings. However, I am surprised that I didn't even notice this before. As you see, the United Nations headquarters resembles the scene from The Wizard of Oz when the veil came down. As you also see here, federal courtrooms have the same layout. Now here is where it all originated. This is that same scene from The Wizard of Oz, next to a traditional Mason Lodge layout. They're all slightly different depending on which chapter. However, I have no doubt this is what it's all meant to resemble.
What if The Wizard of Oz wasn't just a fairy tale, but a warning about America abandoning the gold standard? Think about it. Oz literally means ounce, the standard unit used to measure gold. Dorothy's journey begins when she swept from black and white Kansas, the dull, harsh world of economic depression, into a world of color and illusion. She walks the yellow brick road, the path of gold, a symbol of the gold standard itself, stable, but difficult to stay on. She's guided by her silver shoes, not ruby in the original book, but silver, representing the silver standard that many farmers and populists wanted to use alongside gold in the late 1800s. The author L. Frank Baum was writing during that exact debate, gold versus silver currency.
Did you know The Wizard of Oz was so dangerous? The cast called it a death trap. When MGM filmed the 1939 classic, safety didn't exist. The first actor cast as the Tin Man was hospitalized after inhaling toxic aluminum powder from his makeup. They replaced him but kept using the same deadly paint. The Wicked Witch's green makeup contained copper so toxic, she couldn't eat once it was on, only drink through a straw. In the scene where she disappears in a puff of smoke, a trapdoor malfunctioned, she caught on fire, suffered third-degree burns, and still had to come back to finish the film. The Cowardly Lion's costume? Made of real lion pelts, 90 pounds of stinking fur that trapped heat under the studio lights. And Dorothy? Judy Garland was only 16, but the studio kept her on a strict diet of coffee, chicken soup, and cigarettes to keep her weight down. She was also fed pills to keep her awake and others to make her sleep. By the time filming wrapped, the Dream movie had left most of the cast with lifelong...
This movie seemed to have been cursed. The production was a mess. It took them years. People passed away during filming. So much went on behind the scenes. The reason it seemed to have been cursed is because they made a mockery of God's throne, the Northern Lights, and end times prophecy. This is wild. Let's get into it. If you're unfamiliar with this, check out my playlist, The North. It'll make a lot more sense. The throne room is described in Revelation as being like emerald with a rainbow round about the throne. There's a lot of different folklore and stories about the Northern Lights being how souls go to heaven. We've been theorizing over here that the Northern Lights are the chariots of fire that rapture souls, and also that they are the breath of life and that they get sent out from the North Star or Polaris. Just a quick recap, this is a picture I took of Polaris. Notice the triangle shape, and also you can see the lights going out from it. My 1863 Bible showing the Lord judging Jerusalem. The word used for emerald in Aaron's breastplate in the Old Testament has the same root as the word for God's lightning. Ezekiel talks about the creatures that were like fire around the throne. Just check out some of the movie posters. You have red, green, and yellow. Yellow is thought in mythology to be like a portal color, and obviously it's a combination of red and green. These are also the colors of the Northern Lights, and the yellow brick road leads to the land of Oz, or Emerald City. Take a look at these little cross marks. Here's from a video I took of Polaris. I'm pretty sure God showed me the actual throne with those shapes sitting on it. This image flashed several times in the video I have, and come on, that literally looks like a chair. Here's just an up close so you can see what I'm talking about. So look at when they're entering Emerald City. Truth in plain sight. That is Polaris, aka the Star of Bethlehem. Every poster, green, red, gold, the Emerald City. Notice how there's the light on the top, like I've been saying, Polaris, which means heavenly, and then the rainbow. So look at the Emerald City. This is Hallgrímskirkja Church in Iceland. It looks very similar. There's a big cross on the top. So they go inside of Emerald City. Look at the walls and ceiling in this scene. This is the inside of Hallgrímskirkja Church, and it's a big organ. So then I'm like, I think it says we get brought back to Zion with singing. And yes, we do. Here are just 3 of the verses. You might be thinking, I thought we went up with a trumpet. Well, God's voice sounds like a trumpet. Did I mention there's a rainbow road leading up to Hallgrímskirkja Church? Here's the moment that triggered all of these realizations for me. I thought it was so cool, and I just wanted a reason to show you guys. When they first get there, they clean them up and fix them, kind of like we're gonna be sanctified. So they go inside and talk to the wizard, and would you look at that? He's covered in red and green clouds with fire around him, just like how the Bible says. And this looks to be the throne, the Ark of the Covenant. And don't forget, Jesus sits on the mercy seat of the Ark of the Covenant. And also, there's 2 cherubims on both sides of the Ark. So then they find out that the wizard is a man behind a green curtain. And remember, Polaris sends out the glory of the Lord, or the glory cloud, the Northern Lights. So man behind the green curtain. You are clothed with splendor and majesty, covering yourself with light as with a garment. He makes the clouds his chariot. He rides on the wings of the wind. He makes his messengers winds, his ministers a flaming fire. And then look at what he's doing. Remember we talked about how God is Father Time and that like mythologies invert things of God. This part's also nuts. So Galinda, the good witch of the north, I've been saying, Jerusalem, is in the north. Black rock, look at the bubble. Green, yellow, red. Galinda is Satan masquerading as an angel of light. This is the archetype of Babylon. This is an inversion of God, or maybe an angel that was guarding Emerald City. I'm not really sure on her yet, but this is supposed to be Satan. In the book, this character is actually the Queen of the South, and she's in charge of a bunch of little red minions. In the movie, she's the Queen of the North. See the inversion there? And she's Queen of the Munchkins, which I think is going to be aliens. They're going to say that she's here with aliens to help. I've been talking about how we need to recognize the of Babylon, but just to give you a quick rundown. So this is the book version of the character, and the of Babylon always has red hair and either a white dress or a green dress. Just like Venus, Athena, Freya, the Catholic version of Mary, this is Lucifer, Thor, Hera, Diana, who's directly mentioned in the Bible. Are you guys starting to put two and two together? It's all the same being, just under a different name and slightly different. Often shows up as a moon goddess, an archer, somebody that's from the moon or can float or fly or float down any bubble. And it's really interesting that she shows up in a bubble, because this is this. And if you saw my video exposing astrology, the sign for is a pearl, hence why Venus stands inside of an oyster. And that's why all of these characters are linked to the moon, because that sign also is. So the green light is good and the red light is coming from below, I think. Green and red are at odds. So this is the archetype for the woman in Revelation 12. This is going to be the Night Lady of Babylon. The English translation has us all expecting her to show up in purple. The word can also accurately be translated to crimson, like her hair color. I think that Revelation 12 is going to play out very literally, and it's going to have something to do with an alien fallen angel invasion. The name Galinda appears to come from Old English and Germanic roots. It links to serpent, shield, or protection. This is all starting to add up, right? And valley. So valley, protector, serpent. And then think about it. In the book version, she's the Witch of the South. Hell. In the movie version, they made her the Witch of the North, God's terrain. The Wicked Witch's catchphrase is, "I'm melting." What melts, you guys? Snow, because emeralds are in the north. Look at the sign. It says, "Bell out of order, please knock." There's an extra passage or two that's added to the book of Daniel in the Ethiopian Bible, where he refers to the dragon as the bell. So I'm not totally sure. Maybe that could be the witch in the beginning that, like, the house got dropped on her. I didn't actually rewatch this movie. It all just kind of flooded back to me at once, and I was like, oh my gosh, that's what this is. But yeah, let me know what you guys think. Use your discernment as usual.
Wicked seems like a wholesome musical for the whole family, but it's actually an indoctrination into the occult through hidden messages of alchemy and the reconciliation of opposing forces, aka the goat with the bobs. For the evolution of man into God, plot spoilers coming. To unlock these godlike superpowers, one needs to channel an entity. In Wicked, we hear Elphaba describe it as something that takes over her.
Something just takes over me, and something I can't control.
Later on in the movie, she reads from the Grimoire and she allows a spirit to channel through her, which is a way the Solomonic methods are used to trigger the magician's subconscious. Lon Milo Duquette tells us the words can be absolute gibberish, it doesn't really matter. When they're given their dormitory assignments, you can see a name on the roster. It's Alistair Charmanti. This is a reference to the occult magician of charms, Aleister Crowley, which makes sense since Aleister Crowley was known as the wickedest man in the world. It's of no surprise to see his cousin's grandson, Nathan Crowley, is the production designer for Wicked. In the occult, there's a progression for mankind. It's called the evolution of consciousness. This is why they show us animals with the ability to talk. Through theosophy, L. Frank Baum believed mankind could unlock superpowers like telepathy, levitation, and clairvoyance, all of which we see in Wicked. Alchemy is the process one takes to become God. That's why we see Elphaba carrying the book of alchemy with a sigil on it. Later on, she channels language from the Grimoire, which is literally the lesser key of Solomon, a spellbook or grimoire used to summon demons, just like the sigil seen on the alchemy book that Elphaba is carrying. She's also got a book with a dragon on it. This is an alchemical reference to the union of opposing forces of red and green dragons. Elphaba, of course, is the green dragon here. When opposing forces are reconciled, it creates what they call the Philosopher's Stone, and it's the union of divine spirit, soul, and body, aka the Great Work. That's why the Great Work is accomplished by going to the Emerald City, which is a reference to the Emerald Tablets upon which Hermes Trismegistus, aka Thoth, gave mankind this hidden wisdom of alchemy. Ariella Grande's has a long history of Kabbalah, so none of this is a surprise to me. In fact, I discussed her occult symbolism in 2018, and YouTube torched my channel. She was depicted as Akati, the goddess of witchcraft, just like Glinda and Wicked. Join me for a full 90-minute breakdown. We'll talk about the inversion tactics from Disney, Wicked's smutty websites, the Gnostic messaging of Wicked. Elphaba gets initiated through a resistance, struggle, and mutation process of ritual magic, which goes all the way back to Theosophy and Zoroastrianism, which is why Oz's full name is Oscar Zoroaster. He's rocking the all-seeing eye necklace, and in the original Oz books, the Wicked Witch of the West only has one eye, because it symbolizes the all-seeing eye, the enlightenment of man into the occult concepts to create new God. My podcast is called Occult Symbolism and Pop Culture. Go find it. Wicked.
Our true skin color is green, not brown. We are brown because we lost the 12th element called magnesium, and that magnesium was replaced with iron, so we rusted from green to brown. Our body is made up of 70% water. When you mix iron with the water and oxygen, you get the color brown, which is rust. This is why most cultures depict their deity as having green skin, such as Osiris and Ptah, and blue skin, as you see Krishna. Most Nubian babies are also born with green Mongolian spots. Our blood was also green, chlorophyll, which is why we have green veins. And if you place a ring on your finger and cut off the oxygen, your finger is going to be green, which tells you that our true skin color is green. Our cells also contain a pigmentation called chromatophore. Chromatophore gave us the ability to change color and camouflage into any environment and hide from predators, just like lizards and reptiles do. So as the planet Earth was growing, everything was alive, and our skin was green. Our blood was chlorophyll. There was no dying or death or diseases because everything was alive. There were no poisonous plants until 36 million years after, because we were not born to die. We were born to grow and expand our consciousness and grow into many suns and travel beyond the stars, becoming one with all.
We are the avatars.
See what happens when you wear a copper, family? All that oxygen gets stripped from your epidermis, you feel me? That's my actual skin color, and that's a lot of you guys' skin color too. But the oxygen in the air causes our...
We are the avatars.
See what happens when you wear a copper, family? All that oxygen gets stripped from your epidermis, you feel me? That's my actual skin color, and that's a lot of you guys' skin color.
Double cup, stop phone, pull it up. And she look bad in the Maybach truck. Bubble butt, cause Taylor fit up. LSD tap, stick stuff on the tongue. 2500, yeah, we tax for the test. I'm saying 10 on the wind, some ice.
So, have you ever heard about the story of the kids that they found in a cave in England in an area called Woolpit? Their skin was green, and from what I know, we had green skin back in the days. Now, back in the day, in ancient times, we didn't have to eat or consume any type of food. Our food was the sunlight. Our food was our natural... What plants do? Plants have this... they go through this phase where they collect their own food, photosynthesis. So basically we had our own photosynthesis system in our bodies to where we could break down sunlight and be able to just move and eat and do our own thing without having to actually consume the physical food. So when they found these kids in the cave, right, and they saw that these kids was green, they tried to feed these kids, but the kids didn't want to eat no food, no meat, no anything. So they decided to give them some green beans, and they end up eating those other than eating anything else.
The legend says that two children, a boy and girl with green skin, appeared in the village of Woolpit, England. The green children were found by farmers who were out harvesting. The farmers were surprised to see their skin tinged of green. The children's clothes were made of unfamiliar materials, and their speech was incomprehensible to the farmers. The mysterious children were taken to the home of local landowner Sir Richard D. Kane. He would say the children would not eat any food. Even though they appeared to be starving, Sir Richard eventually brought recent harvested beans, which the children devoured raw. The children survived only on raw beans for many months until they acquired a taste for bread. The boy became sick and soon after passed. The girl remained healthy and eventually learned to speak English. The girl was later married to a man at a neighboring county of Norfolk, and she took the name of Agnes Barr. After she learned how to properly speak English, she told the story of their origins. The girl claimed that she and her brother came from a strange underground land, which she called the land of Saint Martin. In it there was no sun, but an everlasting twilight. Like them, all the inhabitants of Saint Martin's land lived underground, were green. The girl explained that she and her brother were looking after their father's flock when they came up to a cave. On entering the cave, they wandered through the darkness for a long time, following the sound of bells. They came out the other side, entering into bright sunlight, which they found startling. It was then that they were found by the farmers. Over the centuries, many theories have been put forward to explain the eerie story of the green children of Woolpit. I would love to hear your thoughts on this eerie story down in the comments.
Original form. Me in my original form.
If you're like me at some point, you're wondering, why is Elphaba's skin green? And you're probably, well, yeah, I'm a Wicked fan, I know about this. But also her character is based off of the Wicked Witch in Wizard of Oz. And when you learn about that, you're like, wait, they chose to have her skin green because it looked aesthetically good in the cinema. Yeah. But here's the thing. I actually think the color green is such a good choice despite all of that. There's so many good reasons why her skin should have been green regardless. So if you think back into like the ancient Greece and the Romans, they would believe that if you were jealous of somebody, you would get sick and you would puke. So the puke was green, so you were, well, green with envy. Now, I'm not saying that Elphaba is an envious character, but it's safe to say that based on her appearance, a lot of people assumed a lot of negative things about her. And then if you go into like the Middle Ages and women who had a deep knowledge of herbal medicine, midwives, wise women were considered to have a pact with the devil. And Elphaba is a very smart character. However, when you were tortured because you were accused of witchcraft or having a pact with the devil, you had bruises, your skin would probably decay or whatever because of the things that they did do. So you had a discoloration of your skin, and bruises, well, they're purple, green, those type of colors. The other thing too, when you think of herbal medicine and women who, would wander off in nature, well, that's associated with the color green. In some occult symbolism with green and working with nature is that you go through transformation, rebellion, renewal, and she does go through it. Her character does go through that. Also, we can't deny the fact that the Wizard of Oz has shaped modern pop culture with the color green, in my opinion. Now, if you agree with this, let me know. Give me a green heart or tell me your thoughts down below. If you're like me at some point, you're
eventually learned that they were saying they were from an underground civilization. What is So there's a story about these two kids that came out of the forest that were green. They spoke an unknown language, but people eventually learned that they were saying they were from an underground civilization. What is the science behind a green person? And how is it related to the superpower that you actually have right now? And how can I draw them as a superhero? Last time we drew the real-life super soldiers with glowing wounds. This is the history mystery of the green children of Woolpit. It's medieval.
Y'all know how when our skin turns green or when we wear copper or fake jewelry? Watch this.
So when you turn green from wearing that necklace or that ring or that bracelet or that watch to them earrings, you're exposing your true skin color.
Stay with me. Melanin and plants go through the same photosynthesis. We absorb the sun the same as plants do. The only difference we have with plants is that they have magnesium and we have iron. Now we know that our bodies are made up of a lot of water, almost 80%, 75. A lot of oxygen. What color does iron take when it's in water? That would explain why we are copper colored beings. Now when a leaf dies or falls in frequency, it turns the same color of our copper colored skin. It loses its green color. They also try to say that the green veins we see in our skin is just a trick of light. Now some babies are also born with green skin patches on them. And they didn't have no fake jewelry. And have y'all found it fascinating that babies don't have to drink water? You almost have to force them to drink it. Look, top 10 tips to get your kids to drink water, to get them more exposed to this oxygen. And some people say that could be the reason why our bodies age. Because DNA passes down and stays alive forever because it's the magnesium that holds it together and keeps it alive, protects it. Now plants are green, they don't have iron, they have magnesium. Now we know in Egypt that Osiris is green. He had green skin, immortality, magnesium. Even when we come out the womb, it says our bodies aren't suited for water for several months. Also, they can't tell where our genes originate, the civilizations that we built, the knowledge that we had. It is the oldest human DNA strain on Earth. What's in our skin is found in space. Y'all can say I'm crazy, but y'all know some of these aliens are different colors. We probably can't. Y'all know how when our skin turns green or when we wear...
Skin was once green. You put a fake ring on and made that fake doesn't necessarily be fake. Fake means it came from an alloy containing iron and copper, which has magnesium, which gets back on your skin through the sweat. The moisture goes back in the pores, causing your skin to turn green once again. You know what I'm saying? And when I start to educate people on that, I'm pseudo. Right? Pseudo means that something that is made up or fictitious. Red. And I tell you about when your skin was once green.
The reproductive fluid of a man is called semen, or semen, which looks very similar to a tadpole. After the semen fertilizes a woman's egg, this triggers growth inside her water-filled womb, of which all of us are submerged in for 9 months, breathing in water like a fish. And we still do, for water is always in the atmosphere. It's just less dense. Now, the reason I brought this up is because some babies are still born with green spots on their bodies. And if you ask the doctor, what are those green spots, they will say they will go away, but never telling you what they are because they just don't know. Those green spots are due to the baby not taking in too much oxygen. Let us not forget that we are sea people. The reproductive fluid of a man is called semen.